Okay, so what we're going to do today is we are going to work on adding some books to our collection, and we add books to our collection for several reasons, and one reason we're going to do that today is because we have a couple of books that are damaged, and we haven't had these books for very long, so we definitely want to replace them and get them back on our shelves as soon as possible. So I've already gone through our webpage through Bergman USD 383, and so what we're going to do is we're going to access Tidal Wave. And so that's where we order our books. And so we're going to visit the Tidal Wave website. And from here, we already have some saved lists, and we've already actually saved these books previously. So we're going to go ahead and go to our saved list. Bergman Fall 2019 is where those books are saved. So we're going to click on it. And then we're going to go right here to the search, and instead of searching through all these books, we're just going to go quickly and just type it in. One of the books that we're looking for, which is one is Today's Navy. And so it should bring it up, and it's right here. So we want to make sure that this is the one we want. It's library binding, it's hardcover, and then we're going to hit want because we want that book, and we're going to hit add to list. And then the second book we're wanting to add to our collection is Pinkalicious. And so we're going to go back to where we entered into the search engine up here. And we're going to enter Pinkalicious. And it's right here. It does say we already own this item, and we know that, but it was a damaged book, and so we want to go ahead and replace it because it did get wet, and so we want to reorder it. And so it is the hardcover book, it's library bound, and so we definitely want to add it. So we're going to click want, and we're going to go up here and add to our list. And that is just a couple ways to add books to your collection. All right, so what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you how the librarians here, how we process new books that come within our collection. And on a previous video, I showed you an order where we had actually ordered some books, and those books came in. So I'm in the process of putting spine labels on them, and we're also going to go ahead and put the barcodes on them and stamp them. And we also want to make sure that when we get finished with all of this, we can go through here and check them into our system, because right now they're checked out as they're being ordered, and some of these books students have ordered and so are requested, and so we ordered them for those students. So we want to make sure we quickly do all of this, check them in, and then put them on the shelf where our new arrivals are, because we want students to know they're ready and available. So what we're going to do is we're going to just take what we've just taken the spine labels here. So I've already put the spine label here, and the only thing I need to do now is to go back and put some tape over the top of it, because this is paper copy and we want to make sure it lasts. And then what we're going to do next is there's a specific place where the barcodes go. So in every library within our district, the labels, barcode labels go on the back. That way when we're doing inventory, we can pull the book very quickly from the shelf and just scan very quickly, because we have over 24,000 books in our library. So we want it to be a very quick procedure, and so it's uniform across the district. Also, what we have in our library is we do reading counts, which is RC, and so the kids know about this, and so that's a spine label here, and then it's also, we have dots on the back too. So all of these are our processing procedures, and what we do here is actually the printed barcode labels that we use to go on the back of the books that I talked about. And then this was a list of the books that came into the order. And so we want to quickly shelve all of these, get this all processed in order for us to get them checked in and on the shelf ready for our students. Okay, so we're going to repair a couple of books. They're damaged here in the crease, so we're going to use some book glue, and we're going to glue some of the pages back together and tape in here in just a minute. And so we'll do that right there, and then I'm going to get some book tape. To repair this side. There we go. So we're going to just do it do is we're going to close it, and then in order for that glue to dry, we're going to rubber band it together. Right on that spot. And leave it there to dry. And then there were a couple of pages in this Dogman book that we can go back and tape. There's some here that's still kind of worn. And so we're going to go through and try to looking to see if make sure there's no other places that need tape. So we have a little spot here, so I'm going to just use a little bit of book tape and work it on. Go through here, just tape that up just a little bit. And there you go. Okay, so this is the reference section of the library, and it houses all of our encyclopedias, our atlases, our dictionaries, resources that students can use, but it stays in the library. And then even though these resources are available online, and we do have them in different parts of the library for students to check out, these stay here when students are doing research projects or they need different resources. It's also available. We have it here for equal access. So students of all students in every grade level, students in any ability, they can always come here and access these materials at their need. Okay, so what we're going to do, I've already talked about where the reference section is in the library and referenced it in print and how students can have equal access to it and come as they need to use those information and resources. So I'm going to show you online how to get to it, because it's just as important to know where it is online on our webpage as it is to know where it's at in the library. So this is Manhattan USD 3D3's website, and we just go down and we're going to find our school, which is Frank Bergman. Nope. And then once we're at Frank Bergman, we're going to go to resources, and this tab on our page tells us where the library page is, and then some other information. So we're going to click library, Bergman Library, and then as we scroll down, these resources down here are good resources to use for reliable information, because we want to make sure that the information is accurate and up to date, but it's also safe. So I know that these websites here I can use for safe resources for children, especially at the elementary level. Like this one says Kansas State Library, Research for Kids, World Book Online. I know that those are reliable, good resources. Okay. Okay, so we're going to do the circulation procedures here at Bergman, and so I was just doing some cataloging with some books that we got in, and so Sophie is here, and Sophie has signed in on our clipboard here, letting us know what time she was here. This lets us know what students are in the library in case we have a fire drill or we need to locate a student. I can see and look here. So she has already signed in, so I'm going to go ahead and check out her book to her. What is your lunch number?
61337.
61337. Okay, Sophia rolls, and then we're going to go ahead and check out. And there you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good day. Okay, so the professional development that we are doing is one over audiobooks. I gave this training last week, and one of my team members was unavailable to be there, so I decided during my lunchtime that I would train her on the importance of audiobooks, because we have in our curriculum, our Wonders curriculum has audiobooks in it for leveled reading, and then we also do EPIC. It's a program that students can build their own library and they can listen to books being read, so I wanted to share the value and importance of audiobooks. So this, one of the slides is more benefits of audiobooks. Exposing learners to new vocabulary, provide an understanding of correct pronunciation of English, and that's really good for your ESOL students who struggle with trying to learn the second language. Provide demonstrations of fluent reading and appropriate phrasing. So by listening to the person reading the story, you're able to hear how they phrase it, how their pace is, and their expressions as they're reading. So it's modeling fluent reading. Support struggling and gifted readers. So even your struggling readers, all the way up to your highest of readers, they get to pick and differentiate their own reading and their own variety of text. And so they're picking and choosing and building their own library. It promotes a sense of intimacy and human connection. So you're not just reading it, but those students who go home and they have no one to read with, they are building that connection with someone in the story, the characters in the story, the person reading the story. They're building that and they're listening and building that connection. And the last one is it gives them access to materials for readers. So it expands not just the books in the library, but they can expand it over different books that we may not have in the library, or that they don't have access to the public library. They can go onto these audiobooks and have those resources available. Okay, so the one area we're going to focus on is time management, and there's a lot of different areas that we definitely manage as a librarian, and so just a few of them are budget, collection, circulation, technology, and staff. And so the documents that we're just gonna, this is how this is organized and how we divide our time in. We get the budget from the district office, and they tell us that we have to use half of it before May and then the other half by November. And so we get a budget sent to us, and so we kind of have to manage how we're using our money, what the report looks like, how much money is left to order materials. Over here we manage, this is from Tidal Wave, these are books that we've ordered from our budget, and so these books here, this is just a list of me managing what we have in our collection, what we've already ordered in our collection, and what we may need still left to order. This document here is for the technology, so we manage the different technologies in our building. So we have iPads carts, we have laptop carts, we have Apple TVs, we have a plethora of technology, and so we are responsible in the library for maintaining that and keeping it updated and the resources that go with it. So this is a document for that. And the last one is just another example of management. Time management is being able to sit down and pull a resource of students that have lost or missing books, and so at the end of the year we can manage this report and go from there. Okay.
Yes, can you help me find a book about
Animals. Where do you think that you would go in the library to find that book? Okay, and where else? Okay, on the computers. Where else can you go? Okay, look right here. This is the Dewey Decimals, and it has all of our different topics, and it's all organized. So look at your topics, look in bold, and tell me, would you find animals in technology, language, or science? Science. Look under science for me and see where you see animals. Right there in the 590s. Okay, you're right. So we know that that's where the section would be. So let's go to the, right here, come here. Find the 590s. Where do you see this section for 590s? Remember we're gonna use the different labels on the ends of our bookshelves, okay? So it starts here, so we know if we're looking on the side of our books, on the spine, it tells us. So that's 577, so which direction do we need to go? That way. So let's keep walking, This one says 582, so we still need to keep going, right? And so we're here, here's 590s. And I can look here, starting here and going down the shelf because it stops here at 590.22 and then it continues down here. So I know that in this section, I bet I could find a book about a dog, right? Or I might be able even to find a section about a dog down here somewhere. So these are all of my resources where I need to have one, okay? Could we also use the computer and look for a book? Yes, because we know how to do that. We know how to type it in and look for a book, okay? Okay, so Avery, tell me what you're doing on the computer.
I need an RC test.
You need to take an RC test. So what we're gonna do is you go to Scholastic Reading Counts. We're gonna wait for it to come up. It'll take just a minute. Did you enjoy the book? Yeah? There we go. Okay, so your username, and there's even a little piece of paper here by the computer that'll help you in case you forget, but here's your username, so it says your first and last name, no spaces. And then for your password, our little cheat sheet says capital USD, your lunch number. Okay, so now you're here and it says take a quiz, check your progress, choose reading interest, or get a reading list. So we want to do, because you've already read this book, Dingoes at Dinner Time, so we're gonna hit take a quiz. Okay, then it says you want to find it by the title or the author, and I think if we try it by the title, because Mary Pope Osborne is such a popular author, it'll pull up all of her books. So if we just type in Dingoes at Dinner Time into the title, it'll help us find that book. Yes. E-R-T-I-M-E. Okay, so then hit find it. Okay, and see how easy that was? It pulled it up. So we're gonna hit here. And then it says you have chosen to take a quiz on Dingoes at Dinner Time by Mary Pope Osborne. Click OK to proceed. So when you're ready, you don't have to right now, but when you're ready, you would hit OK, and then you would go ahead and take your quiz. Okay? All right, so we are on our last bookshelf. We are getting ready to set up for the book fair, or we're actually finishing up from the book fair. We have our book fair next week, our fall book fair with Scholastic, and so this is our last bookshelf, and so I'm gonna go ahead and open it up. These bookshelves have wheels and they already come set up inside, and so we have to maneuver them and get them set up and basically organize them so that the kids and the parents can see exactly what's inside each one of them, and making sure that they are all organized and set up by grade level and are easily seen by everyone, all of our students and parents. And then we make sure that we also have books on display for students to see. Before I put these up, we also bring up the posters. There's posters on the back of the displays that we lift up. If I can get it to you. There we go. That lift up that you can, I'll probably have to walk around, that you can lift up to display what's in that bookshelf, or just to display some reading materials for students to be able to see. So this is one of the posters that students can check out. These go on top of the bookshelves just like that. And then this one is on top of this, and it slides up and it fits right in on the back. And then what I'll do is I'll take up some of the books, our hardback books, and I'll stack them on top of the bookshelves for readers to kind of get an idea and display them out so that students and readers and parents can get an idea of some books that they can take a look at, and some new books that have come out this fall that are brand new. There's some really good ones, so we would definitely want to promote them and encourage those new books, especially if there's some series books that we have had in our library that are new. We want to promote the new book series in our library. And that's just a short clip of setting up a book display. Okay, so this video tonight has to do with the modeling and promoting ethical information seeking behaviors. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take you through our Frank V. Bergman Elementary webpage where I was doing my practicum through. And so we're actually going to go to the resources tab, because that's where we're going to find the library webpage. And so we click on Bergman Library. And how I think that this piece of evidence supports the modeling and promoting ethical information seeking behaviors, because if you're here at the library page, the Library Media Center page, and it tells you here what the mission and the goals are of our library. And then if you scroll all the way down, it says students, teachers, and parents have flexible, continuous access to the library and its resources throughout the school day. The Library Media Center is an active technology, student-centered learning environment that promotes reading, information literacy, critical thinking, and lifelong learning. And so if you keep scrolling down, the one spot that I really want to pay attention to is we've listed several different websites that you can click on. Frank Bergman's online library catalog, Kansas State, because we do partnerships with them, and then the Manhattan Public Library. So these would definitely be 3 areas where you could practice your ethical behaviors of researching and looking for books and resources and materials. But the part that really shows the proof of your ethical information seeking behaviors is if you look down here, they actually tell you that the Kansas State Library, if you were to click up here, the Kansas State Library actually has a research for kids. And so I know that that would be an ethically responsible website for my kids to be able, especially at the elementary level, that they would be able to access and get age-appropriate materials. And I know that it would be ethically well suited for them. And I know that they would more than likely be more responsible with that type of a web page. Obviously, with the training that I would provide for them, that their teachers and I would provide for them. We also have here it says teaching copyright. And so I think that's another really big one. The teaching the copyright is another website. If I click on it, it will even take me into what it is, my responsibilities. I can show them, I can teach them, and then it teaches them how to be ethical, responsible users of information. We have, different categories where we can go through and do research and find those practice those ethical seeking behaviors. And so this would be something I would introduce to my students, making sure that they knew where these things were located, explain what it means to be an ethical user of information, and how to practice being safe and responsible online. And so if you scroll down even more, we have our book recommendations. But the part that really proves the evidence of ethical seeking behaviors is our links that we have attached here for research and copyright and World Book Online, and then having the 3 different links here of the different libraries and the online catalogs that their kids can access from our library media page. Okay, so this video is going to be over the integration of information technology, and I'm just, reflecting on everything that I've learned as a library media specialist and how important integrating technology into our lessons, our routines, the functionality of our libraries, but also being that support and that encourager for the technology and having our teachers integrated into their daily routines in their classrooms is my job. And so there's so many aspects of technology and how to integrate them. But I'm just thinking of the overall experience. I do know that at the beginning of every year on our campus, every teacher is given an iPad and a laptop. And having 2 different forms of technology to use in your classroom and have access to is powerful. There's some campuses who don't have any, and knowing that the district already provides you with those resources gives you some leniency of exactly, what do I want to use today? Which type of technology am I going to use? What am I going to display to my students? What do I want them to learn? And which is the best and the most useful and resourceful thing to use in my classroom? We did recently get Apple TVs, and we also have adapters that we can plug into our iPads so that whatever's on our iPad is projected onto our whiteboards, and we can access our iPads just like by walking around the room. We can access the information on our iPads and display it. Things that are apps that we don't have on our computers or our laptops, we have on our iPads, and those apps we can integrate into our lessons. So that's one aspect. Another aspect is we've been told at the beginning of the year that they're going to start phasing in Office 365 into our computers. And so we are a PC district, but we are going to start phasing in Office 365. Some teachers are very nervous about this. It's change, and some teachers are very nervous when it comes to technology. So I think by me being that support for them and being as accurate and as knowledgeable about the equipment and the programs on the computers will ease their mind, maybe give it more of a positive light for them, because I don't want them to feel scared. I want them to feel confident, and I want them to feel comfortable, but I also want them to be able to come to me if they have questions or concerns. So it is an exciting thing. We're anxious to have it, starting to phase in, and so we will still have access to all of our files. We will be able to share all of our files just like we do with Google Docs, and so just making sure my teachers know how to integrate that program and knowing how to share the files, the folders, their lessons, their teaching with others, just as they do with Google Docs, will be super important as well. So that integrating the two different technologies teachers have at their fingertips from the very beginning of the year, from day one, combined with the new components of the technology that we're going to start phasing in with Office 365. I want to make sure my teachers are able to integrate technology just as they are now, even though there will be some new formats and some new applications we're going to be using. They still will be able to integrate exactly what they're doing with their iPads, with their laptops, and to support the technology aspect of learning. Okay, so this video today is going to be over my evidence of my personal professional growth while I've been in my practicum, and it's definitely something that I want to continue, that I think is important, and I want to continue once I become the librarian of my own library. But being a part of professional development and belonging to organizations that can keep you up to date with the latest reading initiatives and the latest technology, these are all things that will enhance the functions of your library. They are the things that will enhance student achievement. And so it's important for me to be able to belong to these organizations and for me to be able to participate in webinars and professional development. So one of them that I am a part of is the American Library Association. It's probably the main one, the biggest organization you can belong to as a librarian. And with this particular organization, I've had the pleasure of staying up to date with all the recent technology and teaching ideas within the library, but I also get ideas and suggestions from other people through emails, and then people even ask questions like, hey, I'm involved in this and I need some really good feedback, or I need some really good ideas. What do you have? And so the ALA has allowed me to get ideas from my colleagues, but it's also allowed me to provide some feedback of my own experience. So I think that's really valuable. Here's all the certificates of my membership that I belong to these organizations. The TLA is a lot like the ALA, and that this one's designed just for Texas though, and it's the same concepts. Like, I'm able to receive emails, questions, ideas, suggestions from my colleagues, and then offer those ideas and suggestions out too. I've even gone through, with this particular organization actually, I received some feedback from a colleague, and I actually loved how much that they were promoting reading throughout the month of October. And so I downloaded all of her information, and then I actually sent it out to my staff at my school, and they were just reading ideas, how you can get involved how the kids can get involved at home and getting online and listening to books being read to them. So I was super impressed with it. Here is a certificate of completion through a webinar that I attended that was actually given by Dr. Brock, but it's on audiobooks. And this was probably the most powerful training webinar that I've ever attended. I got so much feedback from my colleagues when I turned and presented this to them. I turned it into a PowerPoint, and so I in turn presented it to them, and the amount of feedback that I got from them was amazing. And then just the knowledge that I did not know that existed with audiobooks. And I relayed that over to my staff and my teachers was amazing. So that was one professional development and an area of growth that I felt for me that not only was personal, but I felt like educationally and professionally, it made a big impact on me. Another organization I belong to is the TCEA, and it's another professional librarian organization. And when I first started my practicum, we got to be a part of a listserv. And so this listserv, these aren't just my colleagues that are a part of this, but these were the actual students, like my classmates that were involved in this. And so throughout my practicum, I grew a lot as a person through my practicum. And so I think that a lot of the personal and professional growth that I had throughout my practicum had to do a lot with the colleagues and my classmates that I was involved with. We learned a lot from each other. And so the last one that I want to talk about, because I do live in Kansas, for the time being, I belong to the KLA, and it's like the TLA, but it's for Kansas. And I actually attended a conference, their winter conference there, and I only got to go to the last day, but it was definitely a personal, professional growth for me because it made me feel like all of my journey through my practicum and everything that I've learned through my internship, it's all starting to come together. And one day I'll get to do this and be the one that gets this information and comes back to my campus and shares it with my colleagues. So personal and professional growth, this was my evidence for that by belonging to different organizations, professional organizations, and also attending professional developments as well as webinars that I felt were very powerful and enlightening for me in the field of librarianship. Okay, this is an example of our flexible scheduling. I am responsible for, as part of my jobs and my duties for technology, I'm responsible for setting up a schedule for teachers to come in beginning, middle, and end of the year for scheduling their fast bridge testing for math and reading, and it's grades 1 through 6. And so if you look here, you can already see where some teachers have come in and already plugged in their time for the flexible scheduling. And so I just wanted to give you an example of what that looks like. There's open spaces where teachers can come in, and they have this week and next week to come in and go ahead and take care of signing up. They also can do it in their classrooms, and I can come in and help them with that of like setting it up. I'll show you some more pages. Here's another page of scheduling. It shows the date and the times. And then if you keep going, here's the last day of fast bridge testing that they can come in and schedule and sign up. So that's an example of some flexible scheduling that we do here in the library and the computer lab. Okay, so this video is going to talk about advocating for an exemplary school library program, and I have Ms. Shapaw, who is one of our building coordinators and our interventionist for reading, and so she's going to help me and show us, share and explain exactly what we do. Okay, so tell me some things that you and I do in order for us to work as a team to have that exemplary library program, to be the advocate for it.
First of all, I think one of the most important things that makes it work is that we've got a good working relationship. So that in a spur of a moment, even in our most detailed planning, if something has happened and if we've got to be flexible, we can come in and say, hey, I need to grab some space in here in the library. And can we make this work like right now?
Right.
So utilizing and maximizing space in flexible moments, and then also strategically well-planned moments, supporting us with technology and troubleshooting a group of 10 kids, let's say 6th graders who are trying to log in and we can't make it work, or I've got 1 or 2 laptops that just seem to be not cooperating with us. Being able to call on the aide that's in the lab to have her come and troubleshoot with us is a big plus. So that relationship needs to be grounded in understanding you got to have flexibility about your work.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you take a deep breath and you go, yes, we did it, and yes, we could do it again if we had to.
So having that flexible, collaborative relationship. So the things that, so some things that we talked about was one, utilizing the space in the library if you need it, because you do have really large MTSS tier groups. Two, having to access the computer lab because the computer lab is so close to us here in the library, and that's one of the responsibilities that I oversee is helping run the computer lab and the aid that's in there. So I mean, Ms. Shapaw and Ms. Shargo both do that. They will go and talk to us, the computer lab aide, and then they'll also talk to me to see, you know, the programs we're using or some technology issues, or if they can borrow the lab for lessons they're doing in class. And then I think another one too, isn't it also having your office and your workspace so close to the library, being able to have that, so you have resources and technology and literature at your fingertips if you need it.
Another aspect of that working relationship has to do with, let's say we've got a group of students and we have, let's say 8 students and we have 5 copies of the title of a book and we're doing a book club over an extended period of time. We would then work with you and have you through the district secure the 3 other copies that we might need.
So what I would do is I would help them get the other 3 like through an interlibrary loan. And so that was another video we talked about, was, you know, that process that I do to make sure that they have the resources that they need.
Oftentimes you might come and ask, are there any hot topics regarding informational text that we need to pursue regarding future purchases? How can we enhance our current collection and strengthen it not only with the narrative genre but informational expository type text as well?
Right.
It's always interesting to share titles and those books that come out that just make you stop and pause and ponder and go, this is a good book.
This is a good book, something the kids would learn and benefit from. So those are just some things that how we advocate for a exemplary library program here at Bergman. And
one other thought has to do with, you know, in the delivery of your lessons, visiting with the interventionist about trends that we notice, perhaps at a certain grade level or across the grades, keeping you in the loop with what we're seeing literacy-wise, whether it be the strengths and or the significant needs. I would want to share that year after year, what I find is that a child that struggles to make meaning, this notion of understanding pronoun reference is by far and large an extraordinarily important concept that we must make sure we strategically address over and over again. And I can share a case in point of something that happened today with our first graders. It was eye-opening for my colleague and myself, such that after we were finished with the group, we said, man, I wish we would have had this filmed, because knowing that we see this happening year after year and sharing it with our colleagues across the grade levels, it's just something that we cannot forget about as far as having to address pronoun reference.
Those aha moments. So having that collaborative working professional relationship between myself and not just the teachers, but the MTSS teachers and building coordinators and interventionists, and making sure that we all are advocating for the program and for the needs of the students. Okay, this video is going to talk about promoting digital citizenship and being digitally safe when you're on the internet and trying to do research. Students are trying to do research, and how you as the librarian can make sure that you are enforcing it in your library and going over those standards and the importance of being internet safe, and then also relaying that information over to your teachers. So what I've done is I've gone to the Frank V. Bergman website, and then I've accessed it through our webpage. And then when our teachers get, even parents, when our teachers or parents come to this site, they come to the library, Bergman's library page, and it has the mission and the vision and the goals for our library. If you scroll down, we're gonna keep scrolling. There's different links that you can go to. On these different links, they give you like the online library catalog of our campus, the college that we have a partnership with, and then as well as the public library. But the part that I want to focus on the most is down here, because these links will be, these links are not only digitally safe for your students to do research, but these links also give you information on how to teach it within your classroom. And I could even use some of these links in the library with my kids, or if I'm working with an MTSS tier group. These are some ideas that I could use. I actually used World Book Online for my kids because we did a research project in MTSS group, and so I did this project with about 15 third graders, and I knew it was digitally safe. I taught them what to look for, and then I knew that they were going to be practicing it with this particular link, so I knew that it was safe. The one that I'm going to focus on is teaching copyright. And then this particular page has different tabs, but it says there's a this entire webpage has stuff to do with copyright and plagiarism, and that to me is being digitally safe. You want to make sure that you are preparing your students when they're doing research to make sure that when they use information from online or from books, that they are citing it and giving credit to the person that created it, the original owner. And so if you scroll down, it has different lesson plans that you can teach your students. Oops, did not mean to do that. If we scroll up, we can hit those tabs right here, and it gives you the about, and it tells you some information, some background, and it tells you what is legal online, how is creativity being enabled by new technology, what digital rights and responsibilities exist already. So it kind of gives you some information too, and then they give you the curriculum. They give you some unit goals, they give objectives for students, and then they give you just some ideas on how you can be digitally safe and responsible online, and how you can teach your students. So they even give you lessons, they give you handouts, they give you documents, they give you resources. You can click on all of these. I mean, you've got fair use, you've got copyright, you've got laws and technology. And so we're even going to hit, if we scroll up, I'm going to hit that last tab and show you what's on that last tab. And then table of contents, teaching copyright. They give you tabs. They even give you there's books that you can go and do some research with. And this is kind of like there's even links right here for articles and organizations that you can click on to get more information and just to stay up to date, even blogs. So I know how important it is to make sure that my students as a librarian are being digitally safe, because if I can work and collaborate with the teachers here on my campus and show them the different resources that are available, they can in turn use it in their classroom. So they're getting it from the library, they're getting it from the classroom, and that just protects you all the way around, because we know if we send them off out into the world or we send them home, we feel confident enough to know that we have provided them with those that solid resources and information to keep them safe when they're on the internet. Okay, so the video we're going to do today is over interlibrary loans and how our campus and our district operates whenever we're asked of a material or a book, or if we're requesting one from another campus. And so what we have is the teachers come in and they can put their name, their ID number, the barcode number on the back of the book. This is used for whenever the library isn't open, if the teachers come up on the weekends, or if it's after hours and the computers aren't up, they can still write down all of the information from the book and place it here. And then they tell me the date that it was checked out, when did they check out the book. We also the teachers have control over checking out their own books when they come in, so that our time is devoted to our students and our patrons. And so what we do is each grade level has their own barcode, and then what they do is they scan the barcode for their name, and then they scan out their books, and their books are checked out to them automatically. And so how you do an interlibrary loan is if we need to request one from another campus, what'll happen is the teacher will tell me exactly what book that they need to have requested. And so I'll take that title and then I'll search. I'll get on the catalog and I'll see what campuses in our district offer that book. And then what I do is I send a via email to that campus requesting that material, and then what they do is they'll check it out to us over there, and then it takes about 3 to 5 days for it to reach here, and once it's here we definitely let our teachers know. But we also keep a record of the interlibrary loans that we do here. This is just something done on a personal basis, just so we're keeping track of what we're getting from different campuses and what's being checked out. But it's the date requested, is the date the book was requested during the interlibrary loan, the teacher's name, the title of the book, how many copies, because sometimes these are used in our MTSS tier groups, and so we want to make sure we have all the copies accounted for. We also have the number of copies and the school that it's being requested from. And so we put that information here and the date that was returned. And so if we need to, if someone requests one from us, the process and procedure is very similar when it's done the other way around. The only difference is when they request one from us, we take and we pull, we have orange bags that are used for our inter-district mail. And so we'll pull, the same procedures go, we check out the book to them, we find it, we check it out to them, I have a card with their school name on it, so we take that and we put that on the outside. We take and put the books or the resources that they needed inside the bag, and then we return it to the mail in the front office, and then they will get it taken care of from there. Okay, so we know that we use problem solving when we're in math, right? But we don't just use it in math, we can also use it when we're reading. Okay, so you read out of here the whodunit puzzles, you read The Murder Between Friends, right? Okay, and thinking about the story, thinking about what happened in the story, the events, let's look over here at our problem solving poster. Now, in order to find out who committed the crime, who did it, we could either act it out, we can make a picture, make a table, a list, guess and check, look for a pattern, use logical reasoning, make it simpler, or brainstorming. Which one of those do you think from the list that you could use the best with this story in order to problem solve and find out? To guess? Guess and check, and tell me why.
Because
No? Could you guess by thinking of the clues in the story? Can you guess that way and then also look at the pictures? Yeah. So if you guess and check, so who do you think did it? You think the lady on the end over here?
Mm-hmm.
This lady on the end? So let's see if you're right. We're going to guess. You guessed, and now we're going to check. So we can check back here. Murder Between Friends. Dr. Quicksolve suspected tweeter. Her hearing seemed fine, and her music was not loud enough to drown out the sound of the gunshots. The hall was quiet, and the music did not interfere with their conversation. She may have been angry at Terry for complaining about her music. Many hearing impaired people. What does that mean, hearing impaired? Many hearing impaired. That means she's having a problem hearing. Like she has a hard time hearing. Would A be able to hear gunshots? But Miss Blossom's Labrador was apparently her hearing dog. Like her dog was there as like a guide dog. To the door where Mr. Quicksolve knocked quietly. There is no reason to suspect Mrs. Blossom. So, were you right? You were right. Good job. High five. Okay, so what we're going to do today is I pulled the statistical report for some of the books in our collection. This is the nonfiction report from our collection, and I just want to go through the nonfiction books to know what books to pull and start weeding through our collection to update and make sure our collection is staying up to date and fresh for our patrons. I usually pull this collection and go through it and see how many times these books have been checked out and how many times they've been circulated, and that kind of gives me an idea of what I know, what I need to pull. And so I'll give this list, once I've gone through it, I'll give it my list to my aide, and she'll go through these books and she'll pull them from the collection, and then I'll go through these books and I'll decide what I need to keep, what I'm going to weed out, and what I need to go ahead and replace. Okay, this video tonight has to do with the strong evidence of strong communication skills. And so some of the, or one of the communication skills that I had with the public library here in Manhattan was at the beginning of the year, we were sent out an email from the head supervisor of the library, Laura Ransom, and she sent out an email and said that she wanted to do a partnership with all the librarians in our district, that she wanted to offer a night where the school, it was, centered around the school, and they wanted to do library activities with students and their families, but then also offer free library cards, which I think is a huge incentive and promotion for the community when it comes to reading. And so the first email is this one right here, the second one, and she tells us what she wants to do, and to get our feedback from it, and so we needed to be brainstorming a date that worked well with our administration and our school events. And so the second was a follow-up email sent from the head library of the children's department, and with this particular email, she's saying that she has sent an attachment displaying what the flyer would look like, and then a piece of paper that we had to fill out and then digitally send it to her. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up both of those to show you what it looked like. So let me go ahead and do that. Apologize for all of the back and forth. So this is what the flyer looked like. This one does say Amanda Arnold, but this was just an example that she sent to us, but it tells you it would be Manhattan Public Library Spirit Night, and where it says Amanda Arnold, it would say Bergman Elementary, and then it tells you down at the bottom all of the activities they were going to be doing, and so I thought this was just amazing. And then she also sent us, this was the information sheet, and it tells the details of it, the time, what would be going on, their missions and goals of why they're doing this, to promote the library, within the community, the public library within the community, but also get students involved with their school. And so here's the promotion idea, and it says help us pick a date. And then if you continue down through it, here is the actual information sheet, and they listed a few dates that we could choose from. So we actually selected September 20th. And so September 20th is the one I checked. I filled out all this information, and then I emailed it back to her, and then we were able to set up our information night, so our school spirit night. And so I felt like this was just huge, that communication that I had with her, and collaborating with her about a night that our students and our families represented our school and went in and actually got to promote the library and the love for reading within the school community, but in the community of Manhattan as well. Okay, so the video is going to talk about library family programming, and to me this is one of the more fun ones of what we do, because you get to interact with not just the students but their families as well. And so we try to schedule a family event at least once a month with students and their families. And so just some different ones that we do. In September, we did the School Spirit Night, and that was where the families and the students came into the Manhattan Public Library, and they got to do different library activities as well as get their free library cards. So that was one thing that we collaborated with the Manhattan Public Library to do for our families. Another one, students are the only ones that have library cards here. Their families do as well, and so they can come and check out books for their family too. This is the same for summer school. We house the summer school program here, and so we have parents and students from around the district that can come in and get library books with library cards. The kinder breakfast that's kicked off at the beginning of the year for our kinder families that are new to Bergman, we go in to the kinder breakfast and we talk about what's available here in our library, how to access the materials here in our library, and what's available to them as parents. We do a book fair, and so the book fairs we do 3 of them throughout the year, and those book fairs are open up to our families twice at night, so after hours when families are getting off work, they can still come up to the library and they can access the library and purchase books and materials for their families to read at home. And then we also do our newsletter, our monthly newsletter for the school. We have a part of that newsletter as our library, just basically advertising what good things are happening in our library, what's going on, what events are coming up, and yeah, and our webpage. So we also have our webpage that also helps our families to know how to access the different resources we have in our library. Okay, so the video we're going to do today is the one over time management, and that's a very big responsibility and a very big role with the librarians. I know in my experience there's been 3 different types of schedules and time management skills that I've had to practice and work with. One of them is your fixed schedules. We do fixed scheduling here on our campus. We do both fixed and flex, but the fixed gives equal access to all of our students. They have a set library time. They can come down here, they can listen to a lesson, check out books, and go over any issues that they may have when they need to come to the library. The flex is more open, so we definitely have a flex schedule here set that patrons and teachers, students can come in at their leisure when they need to. It could be MTSS groups. It could be they have, during their silent reading time, they can come down and check out books. So we have both types of schedules. And the other type of big time management that we do is the year-long schedule. So usually what I do is I sit down with my calendar, I pull the school calendar, I will pull any events that we have coming up, I will pull different testing dates that are coming up that the computer lab will need to be used for, or the computers in my library need to be used for, as well as I work and collaborate with all the grade levels during their MTSS times, so I want to make sure I'm there for their meetings and their collaboration that they're doing, because I'm either working with students or I'm assisting them with technology or resources that they need. And so it's definitely spread out. Instead of just having my own one classroom that I'm used to and teaching, I now have, I'm responsible for 550 students and over 100 teachers that I want to service, and I want to make sure that I'm giving my time to, and the resources, as well as the other librarians in the district and the other staff in the district that need resources from us. Okay, so this video tonight has to do with book displays and how that can promote reading within your library. And so the book displays that I decided to show you were pictures of book displays that I have done at the middle school and the elementary level. The middle school is actually getting ready to transition their library to another part of the building, and so they actually had tons of extra library shelving space. And so I asked the librarian if I could set up a couple of displays, and she was absolutely okay with it. So this is one that I put together. It's called Just One Word, and what it is I pulled books from the collection that dealt with that only had one-word titles, and I thought that was a really unique way to draw in some of the middle-aged schoolers into reading, as getting their attention with just that one word. And so this is one display that I did. And then this is one of my favorites. It's called Walk a Mile in Their Shoes, and it's for diversity. And so what I did is I took one of the empty shelves there at the middle school, and I set up, I pulled books from the collection that centered around diversity. So it didn't have to be just a race type of diversity, but it could have been a disability, it could have been a cultural, it could have been a religion. And so I pulled books from the shelf that had to do with that. And then I went and bought shoes from the local Goodwill here, and I just set up the display. And so I just thought it was so unique. Kids loved it. I was having to pull extra shelves or extra books from the collection because kids were taking them off that bookshelf as I was putting it together. So I thought that was pretty unique. Another one that I did at the middle school level, let me click on a different one. This is actually the elementary that I did my practicum at. And this was a fall book display to really get in the elementary level readers into a theme for the month, because it's October and it's fall. And so I went to the dollar store and just totally racked up with some different decor. But then I pulled books, not just for your K1, 2, but I also pulled some for your 3, 4, and 5. So there's where the chapter books come in at. And so this was just a really, really cool display. The kids loved it. They were already grabbing off the display before it was even finished. Here's another picture of it. And this was back at the middle school. This was one that the social worker, which is the equivalent to a counselor at the middle school, approached me and said that she had a group of students that she was going to start calling a book club with them. And this group of students are low performing students based on the state standards and the state test. And basically they struggle, not just academically struggle, but they struggle with emotional issues as well as social issues. And so throughout the week, they earned purple tickets depending on like their behaviors, if they were making good choices, if they went out of their way to help someone, if they used some of their skills that they've been practicing, and then academically, were they being responsible? And so when they got the purple tickets, then they could exchange them for a book. And so instead of doing a red box, I did a read box. And so all of these books were given, donated to us by the K-Link grant. And it's an organization here in Manhattan that promotes academics, especially in the area of reading. And so all of these books were donated, and they're continuously donated to us every month. And so I set up a book display so the kids can come in with their purple tickets, and they trade in a purple ticket for one of the read box new releases. And so, I mean, we had tons of chapter books ranging from graphic novels to fiction, nonfiction. Kids really enjoyed that. So this just happens to be some of the book displays to promote reading at the elementary and the middle school level.